Hi, I'm Beth, and this is VIP Yoga. VIP stands for Variations for Individualized Practice. So this will be a short tutorial-like video in which we'll practice many different variations of a single pose. I've said in the other videos that these are different variations, not every variation. They're ideas for you to mix and match and then take to a yoga class. So this is more of a tutorial than a class itself. You can watch me or you can follow along if you'd like. I'm going to go over to my mat where I have a lot of props available. In order to vary poses to your body, we need a lot of props and we need to kind of experiment to see what works. So join me over at your mat, or as I said, just watch. So today's pose is going to be a seated forward fold, paschimottanasana. Seated forward fold or paschimottanasana means intense stretch of the west. And it's called stretch of the west because it's often done traditionally at sunset. It's a pose that allows you to go inside as you forward fold over your body. And so it can be a good pose to relax. Since today is a national holiday in America, that's a good time to relax. So I always start showing you I call it the traditional version of the pose, basically how it's usually taught in class. And then from there, we'll start using our props to mix and match. So I'll turn toward the side, legs extend straight out, sitting on the sits bones, and I like to take my hands and move my flesh out of the way, so kind of internally rotate my thighs, pull out the flesh of the buttocks so I can get closer to the sit bones. I'm going to do that on both sides of my body, just to allow myself to be a little more upright. And you'll see I'm looking for my back to be straight. We have natural curves to our spine, but we want kind of that straight shape to the back so that I'm sitting up like an L, toes point to the ceiling, and then I'm going to hinge or fold forward right from the hip joint. Not from the back, but right from the hip joint. So as I do that, you'll see I don't go very far. This is about my maximum. My bones start to get in the way here. So that's where we're going to start to adjust the practice so that it's functional. Functional means adjusted to your body. So the first thing I'm going to go do is sit up on something. Sitting up widens the curve. So right down here, this is at a 90-degree angle. It gives more of an angle here from my thighs to my torso, and it gives me more room, especially if my bones are getting in the way. So I have a blanket. I'll try sitting up on that first. You can use a blanket, you can use a cushion, you can use a block. So sitting up on that, can you see how I'm able to fold more forward? And this feels more comfortable for me. It allows my pelvis to tip back or to tip forward, kind of my tailbone to go back, my pelvis to tip forward. Your pelvis is a bowl that you're kind of spilling over your legs. Now, one thing about the straight back is that is how the traditional paschimottanasana or forward fold is taught. It's thought to be better for the spine to keep the back straight. However, some traditions of yoga, like yin yoga, do teach a pose, we call it caterpillar in yin, with a curve to the back, more like this. You come over straight, and then you allow your back to curve. So I wanted to note that that might be right for some people, but if you have osteoporosis or any spinal issues, you might want to check with your doctor first before you go into that version of the pose. All right, let's play around more. So as we talked in the previous videos, the things you can play around with in addition to the props are where your legs are positioned, where your arms are positioned. So the first thing I'm going to do, or the next thing I'm going to do, is widen my legs a little bit and just create more space for my body to come in between. And again, it might be creating more space for my bones, my joints, folding forward. And you can probably see better than I can. Maybe I went a little bit further there. The goal is not to go down more. It's just to be comfortable in the pose while getting a good stretch. And so going further helps me get a good stretch. Here you're really going to feel it in the hamstrings. You might feel it a little bit in the back. A good stretch means a sensation that you feel, that stretching across the area without any pain, without any kind of sharpness. That's a good stretch. So I'm going to take the blanket out and I'm going to sit on a block instead just so you can see. This is a little bit of a lower block than most of them. So I'll sit on the edge of this block. And as you can see, I can still fold forward with that. So the next thing I can vary with my legs is to give a little bend in my knees. And I'm going to keep them wide because I like them wide. And as I bend my knees again, I can move forward even a little bit more. And now I feel a stretch a little bit in my hip flexors. That's fine, as long as, again, it's not painful. And maybe I let my chin come down to my chest and relax. Another version of this, and this is why I wanted to come off the blanket, is to roll a blanket and place that under the knees. I'm going to take this rolled blanket right under my knees to support my legs that way. This feels nice because it feels even more supported. I'm still supporting something under my bottom so that I can hinge forward, and then I hinge forward over my legs. All right, now I'm going to start showing you some of these things with the arms. Now remember, you can do all of these things with the legs and add in the arms. You can do just the arms if that's what you need. You can mix and match. So I'm going to shift off of this. I'll return to sitting on my blanket. We're going to use blocks and a strap. I forgot to grab my strap. Luckily though, I have a scarf here, which is really handy because you don't need real yoga props, right? You need whatever works around your house. So this blanket might be a cushion from your couch. It might be just a regular pillow. Whatever works for you is perfect. I'm going to grab my blocks. Your blocks might be books. They might be soup cans, would work probably really well in this pose. Take my legs out long again. Do that little bit of external rotation. Move the flesh out of the way so I'm sitting nice on my sit bones. So one way I like to do this pose is have the blocks next to me and use the blocks to help me walk out over my legs. And then wherever I get to, I can simply rest my hands there with the blocks. Again, I might let my chin come down. But it feels nice to rest my hand on the blocks like this. You can have your forearms on the blocks. You can do this with a wider leg and walk your blocks in between your leg. Maybe you come down to your forearms. So we're looking for comfort within our stretch. Comfort is really important in a functional practice. Comfort in your own body. If you have a strap, a yoga strap, a scarf, or a dog leash, and again, anything long that helps extend your arms, because that's what we do with the props. They become an extension of our body. You can loop that around your feet. Hold gently with your arms. Keep your shoulder blades plugged into your back or your arms plugged into the arm socket. Shoulder blades extend back. And then you can lean gently over your legs this way. All right, now I'm going to show you a couple of variations with a chair. First, we're going to stay seated on the floor. And I have a chair here. I'm going to scooch over to it a little bit. I'm going to scooch over to it so that my legs come under the chair. And remember, I slipped off my blanket, but you can still use your blanket. This is a supported version of forward fold, where you can lean forward and you don't have to go very far to support your head, your arms. You might lay your head. Let's scooch the chair out a little more. You might lay your forehead. This can be done with a bolster too. I have a bolster back here if you slip your bolster on your body, but you get the idea. I'm going to come up on the chair now. And yeah, I have to keep shifting my props out of the way, which is fine, right? That's the purpose of a functional practice, is to use all these things that are disposable. Why not? So sitting on my chair, extending the legs out, you'll see I have the same shape, but now I have a nice wider angle. So this is part of what the block or the blanket did. Now my angle is even wider, and I can fold forward even more comfortably. Actually, this feels really nice. So same effect here, same stretch in the back of the thighs, the hamstrings, same elongation of the back. Now, if I prefer to sit on the chair, but I want to take this angle up a little bit more, I can put the blocks under my feet. So now I'm lessening that angle. Maybe I'm playing around with, can I lessen that angle? Can I move toward being on the floor? I'm scooching, my blocks are sliding around here, but you get the idea. Again, those could be a box I'm hanging on, and that's a fine version of the pose. Or you can flip around and have a second chair. I conveniently have a little chest here. Have your legs up this way and fold over. Then the last version we'll do is a version on the floor. You've heard me say before that I love getting down on the floor. And I love finding a way to do a version of the pose on the floor. Virtually every pose can be done in a reclined version on the floor. So I'll shove some of my props away just so you can see me a little better here. All right, so for this floor version, we'll come down to lying on the back. Actually, we might use the little block. I'll have that here. And then we lift our legs in the air. And you can see this is the same shape, right? This is the same L shape with the body, but now I'm taking the spine out of it. The spine doesn't have to work. Gravity can really help me. And if I want, I can bring the feet closer to my body and get even more of a fold. So even though we're lying on the ground like this is still a forward fold pose. And the last thing you can do, and I love this, is you can take a block or a blanket, put it right under the pelvic bone, so really a little bit lower than your waistband. Lift up the legs, and maybe that gives you more room to extend the legs toward your body. It also feels really wonderful. This is sometimes called a supported shoulder stand. It's actually one of my favorite poses. You can do it against a wall too, with your legs resting right on the wall, which also feels really wonderful. So I'm going to come up. So that is our VIP yoga practice for today. I hope that gave you a lot of ideas for how to practice functionally, which means how to adapt poses to your body, how to vary your practice that makes it the best and most comfortable for you. Questions or comments, let me know below. Try the other practices in the VIP yoga series and have a great day.